Cool. I'm going to turn it over to Liz. She's going to talk a little bit about some of the competitive stuff.
I am. So a lot of, as we've mentioned, a lot of the things that are going into the feature pack that we're talking about today are based about competitive. That's certainly not the only thing that's going to be happening in the feature pack. Over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks up until September 9th, we're launching almost daily blog posts. So if you keep your eye on guildwars2.com, you'll see a lot of information that touches pretty much every area of the game, not just competitive. But today we're kicking off the whole feature pack reveal by talking about competitive stuff. And we're going to start by talking about changes to the commander system, which is not specifically for World versus World, but it's where it gets a lot of the most support. So to begin with, as some of you probably know, Guild Wars 2 has had a commandership system since launch. It's a way of identifying who's kind of leading a group of players. When you're a commander, you have this icon over your head, and up till now it's always been blue, so you'll see a bunch of little blue Doritos over the map, and you're not really sure which one to follow or who's doing what. So to simplify that, we're adding in a bunch of different colors. So now as a commander ship, you can actually buy each color individually and choose, okay, maybe I want to be a blue commander, or maybe I want to skip blue entirely and start off by buying a red commander ship. So you can do that, you pick whatever color you want, you buy them individually, and then you can kind of, we're looking forward to seeing the way that players decide what means what. Maybe red are all assaulting commanders in World versus World. Maybe you're going to do the Great Jungle Worm event in PvE, and you've got a blue commander at the blue worm, you've got a red commander at the red worm, yellow commander at the yellow worm, whatever makes sense for players. So we're just kind of putting in a couple options so that players have the freedom to choose how they want to represent themselves. The other really cool part of that is that it means that commandership is going to be account bound, which is something that's been asked for a lot from our fans and something we're really excited to provide, because we don't really think that commandership experience is based on your character. It's based on you going in and leading the groups and setting up tactics and what have you. So this means that as a commander, if you've got 8 characters, if you've got 5 characters, whatever, you can now carry your accumulated experience to every character, which we think really improves the value of the commandership overall. That does mean there's going to be a price increase. We figured that most people who have multiple characters are probably going to be playing on 3 or more. So we've raised the cost from 100 gold to 300 gold. So really, any commander you command on over 3 characters, you're saving money in the long run by using this new system. In fact, you can see, here we've got this yellow character in World versus World, and they look like they need some help. So we're going to go over, and I have no idea how I can click this button with this map. We're going to go help them out. Do you want to talk about Golem?
Yeah. Real quick, one of the things that we look at whenever we're adding new systems or upgrading systems is we ask ourselves, does this need to be a character-bound system, or can it be an account system? And so similar to that, in World v World, we made the change so that the experience that you earn in World v World, and it generates points that you can spend in kind of different lines to customize your abilities. Those points are generated on an account basis, so all of the characters that you're playing in World v World are generating these points, and then you spend them on a character basis to improve characters in specific roles. One of the new things that we're adding is the Siege Golem Mastery line. All of these ability lines tend to be ways for you to focus kind of your play and unlock different tactical advantages when you're doing a specific thing in World versus World. Siege Golems represent kind of the high end of siege play. They're giant golems that move very slowly but are very powerful and are typically used to assault towers and keeps. So the Siege Golem line has some stat increases that make you more survivable and make you do more damage. But they also have some very specific changes that we've made, additions that we've made to make them a lot more functional and to allow players to use Siege Golems in more situations. As you can see, the Siege Golem moves very slowly, but they're very powerful. The first ability that you unlock in the Siege Golem line helps deal with when you go up to a gate and you break through the gate. Oftentimes players will leave their golem, or they need to move it somewhere safe instead of continuing the push on inside because the golems are slow. And so the first point that you spend in this line gets you the ability to have a speed boost when you break through the gate so that you can push in quickly past the defenses and head up towards the Tower Lord. So typically we would go in with players and we would go and take over this this spot, which is defended by the Tower Lord up at the top. One of the other changes that we've made, the healing shield bubble, which used to just deflect projectiles, now also heals all of your allies if you continue to put points into this line. So that siege golems not only are good at breaking down defenses, but also they can kind of function as a mobile tank that goes around and supports its allies and provides kind of defenses for people around. Probably one of the coolest things in this line is the final ability. It's basically adding an ejector seat to your siege golem. One of the things that we see in play a lot is that when golems get low on health, players actually leave them behind because when the golems are destroyed, it's very likely that you're going to die immediately thereafter because you're in the middle of a big battle. In this new ability line, the final point gets you an ejector seat. So when the siege golem goes down, it goes nuclear, and it basically blows out all of your enemies and ejects you out away from the battle and puts you in stealth and gives you speed so that you're much more survivable and you have a chance to escape the fight. Maybe jump into another golem and come back into the fight. But you can start focusing in on, hey, I want to really be someone who is good at piloting siege and I have more survivability. I can take it into big battles and I can ride it all the way until the end and then escape from the battle. So some cool stuff. One of the other things we're adding is our first trick. We added a tricks and traps vendor to the game. It's an area where you can spend some currency to get different functionality. Right now we have 2 traps and players place them out in the environment and they kind of set up active defenses with them. The first trick is actually a siege disabler. So both when you're assaulting and when you're defending, oftentimes the other team has set up different siege units that are kind of protecting an area. The siege disabler allows you to go in and disable those things for 40 seconds, 45 seconds. And so it gives you a chance to kind of bypass established defenses in a very limited time. It opens up a lot of tactics. One of the things that we saw quite often is that people stack a lot of battering rams right at the front gate. And so if you're defending an objective as a small group of players, it can be very difficult to do enough damage to discourage players from stacking all of their siege at one location. But with the siege disabler, if someone sets up 5 flame rams right at your gate, one person can go in with this grenade and disable them all for 45 seconds, which buys time for other people to come. It also encourages attacking people to use different siege units and to spread them out. So it's a small item, it's a small change, but in WoW it can have very large implications and it can open up a lot of space for tactical play. So really excited about some of the things that are coming into World versus World. One of the other things, if you are familiar with some of the armors in GW2, you might have noticed that you've never seen this armor before, and this is related to an announcement that we just made. It's the World Tournament. It's kind of our next step into the competitive scene. It has an exclusive armor that you can earn as part of the Tournament of Glory. So the top 3 finishing teams will all unlock pieces of this armor set. It's a very rare, prestigious thing that you can go around in-game. People see that and they know what it means. They know, oh, these people are really, really good at PvP. There's also a reward track version of this, which is for everybody that plays PvP can get a lesser version of this armor that says, hey, you've spent time in PvP and you want to identify as someone who plays a lot of PvP. But we're excited about the new tournament because it represents kind of a step forward for us in terms of competitive play. The Tournament of Glory is actually a feeder tournament that goes into the World Tournament, which is our first big major prize pool that we're setting up. It has 3 events, and each of them has a $50,000 prize pool at the end. And so there's one for each region. There's one for Europe and North America and China. So $150,000 total. We're partnering with Kongzhong in China to help put this on. And we're really excited to see players get a chance to compete for this stuff and then have meaningful competitive play that we can support and say, hey, it's really exciting that you guys are doing this stuff. Here's a big prize pool. Let's see what happens.
That's about it. We're also going to briefly talk about improvements we're making to the combat log. This is mostly going to matter for people who are really into PvP and World versus World and really play the game at a high level already. But previously, the combat log was kind of an all or nothing, on or off thing. We're adding in a series of, I believe, 10 options that you can check. So if you only want to see stuff that's happening to you, that you can make sure that that's all you're seeing. So if you're playing World versus World, you suddenly just died out of nowhere, and you want to know exactly what it is that took you down, or some thief was flanking you and you didn't understand that he got a bonus for that. You'll be able to kind of have a much better idea of what's going on. And we've improved it by adding, tooltips for everything. We're showing condition damage. We're telling you what kind of damage you're taking, where it's from, and just giving a lot more information to players' hands so they can make informed decisions about combat. That's about it for our presentation and demo here, so we can open it up to questions now if you have any. Yes, so each color is purchased individually, and it's important to point out that there's no hierarchy for colors, so if you don't want to buy blue, it's not like you have to buy blue first and then move on to red and yellow and whatever. So each color is purchased individually. It's also important to point out that if you've already bought a commander ship, it will become automatically account-wide when the feature patch launches. So if you're cool with blue and you never want to buy another one again, great, you've spent 100 gold and you're good for life. I'm sorry? No. So if you've unlocked blue already, that's the one you've unlocked, and you can go ahead and buy other colors if you want. And then there's a special case for if you've bought more than 3, you can contact customer support and get another color, but that's a pretty edge case.